You know, whoever said that time heals all wounds may be the laziest mofo out there, or they just lack imagination. Time may be the most consistent predictor, but let's think outside the box. When I got my ass dumped, I tried everything to stop the dread, anxiety, even the chest pains that we feel. I did everything imaginable to move forward, from the common things such as working out, upgrading my wardrobe, to some strange and even crazy shit like doing a cold shower challenge, and of course, starting a YouTube channel. Clearly, those so-called strange things later became part of my identity because, well, put together, they all worked, even the cold showers. I created one of the fastest growing men's divorce support group on Facebook. I asked the guys at the group to take a quick 6-minute quality of life survey. I wanted to investigate the old cliche. Does time heal a broken heart, or are there other, better, stronger, more aggressive factors than time? In other words, could someone speed up the time to recovery after a breakup? And if so, what other parameters can we look at besides time? In it, I asked about the quality of life of their post-divorce life, and I looked at the time separated, dating status, relationship with their children, how they feel about themselves, where they live, such as are they cohabitating with their ex, or did they buy a new place, how they feel about their separation, how successful they are dating. Now, over 230 divorced men responded, and the answers I'm about to share with you, oh, they're crazy insightful. So, if you're going through a divorce or even a breakup of a long-term relationship, you definitely want to be here. So let's start revving that engine. Right, before going any further, I have to give you the rundown. Bear with me because, well, in order to give you the main course, the next minute or less may be a little dry. This is a divorce support group after all, and therefore 95% of the guys, they didn't want the divorce. None of them, no, important, none of them that took the survey had any kind of coaching from me. Almost half the guys were between the ages of 36 and 45, and the average age was 38 years of age. I broke them down according to time, and here's a look at their overall breakdown. 29% of the respondents, they've been separated from 0 to 3 months. 20% 3 to 6 months, 23, 6 to 12 months, and 13% 2 years or more. Now, of those separated 2 or more years, clearly there's less incentive for them to participate since they've already moved on beyond their divorce. They've moved forward, so congratulations and thank you for your participation, my brothers. So, here's what the results show. Overall, the quality of life of 63% with a standard deviation of plus or minus 12. Means that if you scored 12 points lower than 63 or 51 points or below, you're responding rather poorly to the divorce. Whereas if you're scored 75 or above, you're responding rather positively. Of note, the lowest score was 28 and the highest being 92. Incidentally, I scored an 86. But what about if they're broken down according to how long they've been separated? What I'm showing you right now, it's kind of obvious because it's telling us what we already know. If you wait it out, you'll get over your pain. But by how much? Not surprisingly, the men separated at 0 to 3 months, they scored the lowest at 56. Perfectly understandable. I mean, you're on average a 38-year-old male, usually married most of your adult life, have kids that you're still raising. You wonder to yourself, who's gonna want me now? Moreover, you're heartbroken, and the life that you know, the only life that you know as an adult is being stolen from you. You didn't ask to be divorced. She did. She took that choice of life away from you. That's what you see. What you don't know, and probably hate to hear, is that you're going to grow at an exponential level. But you don't want to hear that. But mark my words, when you figure it out, that you have choices, you'll look at this in awe and pride because you did it. You fucking conquered your biggest fear. But here are the results. Those 3 to 6 months scored a 64. 6 to 12 months, 63. 1 to 2 years, 67, and 2 or more years, 71. So, you go from 56 to 71, and it makes sense here that your quality of life is 15 points or 1 standard deviation different from the beginning throughout the end. It's also accurate, as I often hear guys say, that it takes 1 to 2 years to recover from a catastrophic event. But just 1 standard deviation difference in 2 years, it just seems like a lot to go through for 1 standard deviation. Let's look at other variables. Here's the quality of life of men that are not dating versus men that are dating. Still just 1 standard deviation difference, 57 versus 71. How about living arrangement? Men that are cohabitating, they scored a 55 versus those that have their own place, 66, making an 11-point difference. Let me point out that conventional wisdom, it says that men move out. Contrary to popular belief, in 53% of the cases, it's the female that moves out rather than the man. That in an overwhelming amount of the time, your then wife has been contemplating the divorce for several years, and she may even have a guy in the picture where she moves into. So when they say that they want a divorce, believe me, they have a plan B. They've told everyone, including their gynecologist, but unfortunately, you're the last to know. How about the relationship with their children? Now, you would think that it would be a big difference since it's the biggest concern that men have when they're getting divorced. But check it out. The quality of life of those whose relationship with their children got worse, it was 56. But if it got better, it was 66. A 10-point difference. Also, exercise didn't help as much as I would have expected. The delta was 14, but to me, if I didn't exercise, I'd be a freaking mess. And the study continues. If they think that they're attractive or not. The age they got divorced, where older men, they actually did better. If they're seeking counseling, and again, I'm not a counselor, I'm a coach. But those that were in counseling, they had a small 3-point change. And this next one, I'm reluctant to show this one because, well, it was not cherry-picked by any means. It was meant for my own amusement and nothing else. But it turns out that if they've watched this channel, the Renaissance Man, they scored higher than if they were in therapy, with a difference of 10 points. And if it can happen through video alone, just imagine when it's done through one-on-one coaching. Again, these guys, they didn't know any of the questions prior to entry, nor even the purpose of the study. So it's not as if I coached them. And if you don't believe me, join our group and ask. The link is in the comment section underneath. Now, due to time constraints and risk boring the shit out of you, I'm going to get to the meat. There were 4 questions. 4 questions that stood out. 4's most importance was how they feel about themselves. If they don't like who they are, they were scoring a 51, and if they love who the fuck they are, they're scoring 72. 21-point difference. Almost a 2 standard deviation, but not quite. A lot of us, we got our asses kicked by our ex, telling us that we won't amount to shit. So after the large ass kicking that we had, it's my job, my passion and mission to make sure that not only you love yourself, but love who, what, how, and what you've become. To give you permission to be unapologetically you. To trust yourself again, because as soon as you trust yourself again, that's when you start living. Now let's look at the men's income. Now this one came right on top, but it was not the highest difference. Men bringing in 50% less, their quality of life was 57, but if they brought in 50% more, the quality of life increased to 78. The change of 21. So let's face it, money, it doesn't buy happiness, but it sure buys you options. Now the next question I'm big on. The question was on dating. Not whether they're dating or not. We've already established that it helps a little. Rather, I looked at their success in dating. The question, it went like this. When it comes to dating, then I gave the man 5 options. First, it's the worst and I can't find anyone. Second, it sucks, girls are slim picking. Third, I haven't made up my mind. Fourth, I'm getting a couple of dates here and there. 5, I'm killing it out in the field. It's so easy. The quality of life improved from 51 to 80, or 29 points. 2 standard deviation difference. Now, early in my coaching, I handled dating with kid gloves. Now I go all balls here because thank God I have, like I said before, this channel. It was supposed to be a dating rather than a divorce channel. So my experience here, it's extensive, and that's what I do in my coaching, to make sure you're the prize rather than the chaser. Because I'm not here to make you a D alpha or sigma male. I'm here to make you you, but you on steroids. Because your transformation, that's what matters. But the question that stood out the most was how the men were responding to the end of their marriage. Question goes like this. How much have you accepted that your marriage is over? And I gave them 5 options. From I want her back to, nah, I'm kicking ass and I wouldn't take her back for shit. Now, those that are trying to get their ex back or are starting to lose hope, they scored the lowest of any other questions. Their quality of life was 47 overall. A small group of guys who were separated for a year, if they've gone through the divorce, they're still trying to get their ex back. Their quality of life, 47 after 1 year. They're still having a difficult time coping with their loss. That's my worst case scenario, to be in pain after 1 year of a breakup. And it's sad to say, but many of these guys, they're the last to reach out to me for help. It reminds me of the old adage that it's a horrible thing to watch a man drown and knowing that they can save themselves just by standing up. but they don't. Often they lose their job, the relationship with their children, it becomes non-existent, but they won't let it go. These guys say they're highly motivated. They're motivated. They're motivated to take their wife, not their life back. And so they resort to begging or prayer. They pray regularly to have the ex return to them. But that's not prayer. That's wishing. Instead, pray to the Almighty that you are in good hands, that you trust Him, and pray that He has something special for you, whatever it is for your life. Now, this is the same question, but these guys are guys who wouldn't take their ex back. Their quality of life, 77. This is also not a time-dependent scenario, as you can see here. Many of them have been separated from 0 to 6 months. They still scored high on the quality of life survey, was at 70. Both, by the way, scored higher than the men who've been separated for over 2 years. And if you remember, the men separated over 2 years scored a 72. So there, right there, it's the highest difference. The highest difference I was able to find was a 30-point difference of 2 standard deviations. You know, I missed divorce coaching or medical. This is where a bunch of the work begins. We start off with the first order of business, which is taking the same quality of life survey, and I do a needs assessment. Later, we move into the strengths analysis, so you can develop your strengths, and from improving your confidence to embracing single life, to thrive as a single dad, a bachelor. They have more options, much more options than they don't what to do with, and we work on that. The sky's the limit here. So success in dating is the second most important factor in your quality of life. Now, I'm not saying that it's because all men want is a skirt, not by a long shot. The reason, it's a confidence booster. As Henry Kissinger said, power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Dating success is telling you that you're representing yourself well, that you're wanted, desired, and that's validation. It lets you know that you're going the right way and that you have options. How long does most guys take to start dating? 50% of them will start between 0 to 3 months, 25% between 4 to 6 months. So if you're going to date, or at least try to date, 75% of the times it's going to be done by the 6 months. Now, let's look at the success in dating. This slide is looking at the success versus time separated. Bad news, you don't get better with time. If anything, it gets worse. 25% of separated men had a hard time. That's represented by the green and blue. But then, those separated by 2 or more years, you can see that they had the harder time. I think it's because as men, we stick to what we know. Keep the same selfie pictures, hats, t-shirts, nothing new. As I researched dating for divorcing men, I asked a group of single women to give me their take on it. Like, the consensus is just that men don't know how to date. But in our defense, neither do women. They're worse at it, but it's still their market. Their biggest complaint is that we're not taking our pictures seriously. We just take a selfie. What's up? There you go. Or that we take forever to exchange numbers. A third of men will quit online dating before they even find a single date. Sad, because according to eHarmony, men begin receiving 2 times as many messages as women by the time that they reach 48 years of age. Now, I can confirm this with my own experience, that when it comes to aging between the genders, one of us will win. Men peak their sexual market value at 38, women at 21 years of age. So if you're scoring in the green or the blue, you gotta give me a call. Like, seriously, give me a call. What do you have to lose? Data shows that the most important component in women are not your beautiful eyes, they're not even your beautiful smile, but the overall quality of the picture. I'm not a Casanova, and I don't want to be. I am, however, somebody that's well read and studied in this department. So make a fucking call, because your dating life is not going to get any better. It may even get worse with time. There's no reason why you can't make an appointment with me. And I say this with so much humility, but I'm very good at this. I will work with you on pictures, profile, outfits, even the time to reach out to them, the works. To recap, there are 4 elements that have made a huge difference in your quality of life. How you feel about yourself and your income. They were both tied by 21 points. Next on the list is success in dating, and last was how men are handling the divorce. As I tell those that I coach, you're going to have a tremendous amount of freedom, but also with that much freedom, you're going to have a lot of responsibilities. Gosh, that sounded like Spider-Man. Now, what about the kids? Let's take parental alienation out of the picture, because, well, that's been well documented. 47% of the men, they agreed or strongly agreed that the relationship with their children improved. 18%, however, said that it got worse. Moreover, men's biggest concern during the divorce was their children. The fact that they were going to see them daily. This is a fact of life that you don't really get over. To this day, my chest, it gets really heavy when I have to drop them off. But take that as a badge of honor because, well, it just shows you what a badass dad you are. So remember that. Now, the next slide, it's heartbreaking. What I did is I looked into the men that are having a hard time with their separation versus those that are thriving. The men having the hardest time with accepting that they're divorcing have also had the relationship with their children deteriorate. Paradoxically, of all the men that still want to keep the relationship with their ex, 50% of them said that the father-child bonding has taken a hit since their divorce. 50%. Now, look at those men that are thriving. 48% of them strongly agreed that their relationship is stronger. Now, it doesn't matter if the guy cheated or is not paying child support or if he just decided to leave. The children will gravitate towards the person handling the divorce better. This is exactly why I tell men that I coach that they have to take care of themselves first to make sure that their mental health stays elevated. And this is more important now than ever because now it's you alone. You go down, no one else saves you. The ship sinks. The point is, however, that the divorce or breakup, whoever suffers the most loses. Key is that you need to stay healthy by any means necessary. It's like the oxygen mask on an airplane. You put yours on first so that you can help others. You're going through the most tumultuous time of your life. You need a trained ear. Why don't you set up a one-on-one with me to speak with a professional? I promise you this. You're going to walk out feeling a hell of a lot better than you walked in. And I wouldn't be doing this if I did not believe that I was the best. Make an appointment by just clicking right there. It's going to take you to my link. But make your appointment ASAP because you needed this like yesterday. My program, it's highly affordable and I promise you, no selling. Like one of my clients wrote, I first was expecting a sales pitch because I looked at other coaching programs, but from the get-go I opened up to you and you listened and told me shit I needed to hear. You're 100% bro. Thank you. Now, in case you're wondering the results of the program is ongoing, but the men eligible to take the survey, here are the results. I mentioned earlier that the newly separated men, they scored a 56, the average was 63, and those separated 2 or more years were 71. Of the clients eligible to participate in the survey, because they've been in the program for at least 3 months, their score, 78. Although I didn't get their initial score because, well, they weren't client at the time, I can assure you. They were much more in the lower end of the quality of life. Thank you very much. Hey, if you're still watching, you see that down there? Click on that to make your appointment and subscribe. So that way you can turn this number into an extra 0. Anything else? I don't think so. Thank you very much.